Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball Bank Shop best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in college hoops. First up, we see Northwestern and Purdue in the Big Ten. This one's going to be a 6:30 Eastern start time. It's going to be on the Big Ten Network. And Northwestern coming off another win against Ohio State in its last game. That was a blowout win, 83-58 the final score. And before that game, Northwestern took down Illinois in overtime. So 2 really impressive wins for the Wildcats. However, both of those games were at home. This Northwestern team has not done too much away from home this year. They have the true road win against DePaul by 10 points. That was a 56-46 game. Not really impressive in my opinion. And they have the Penn State victory, another team ranked outside the top 100 in KenPom. Again, that was a close game, 76-72. Other than that, we've seen them lose to Illinois by 30 on the road, lost to Wisconsin by 8, and lost to Nebraska by 6. And I think with Purdue not only playing with revenge from this season's loss, the early season loss back at Northwestern, but also last year's loss to these Northwestern Wildcats. They've been upset by Northwestern in the last 2 games. Both of those games were at Northwestern. Finally, Purdue gets to host Northwestern, and I think that they take out some frustration on them. A 5-game win streak for Purdue now. They're playing great ball, and I think they're the more balanced team. Shot quality-wise, these teams are pretty similar, but I think Purdue has a huge advantage on the glass in this one. Northwestern, one of the weakest teams in rebounding, both on the offensive and defensive side. Purdue, we know it's Zach Edey, a very good offensive rebounding team, but also the fouls. I think Purdue's going to get to the free throw line a lot in this game, especially as the home team. You could figure they're probably going to get some good calls going their way with the crowd backing them up, and they should get a lot of free throw attempts. I think that's going to be the difference maker in this one. So give me Purdue. I'm going to lay the big number. Next up, we see St. John's and Xavier. This one's 6:30 Eastern. It's going to be on Fox Sports 1. Now, if you've watched the Bank Shop Breakdown from the beginning of the season, I'm not the highest on the Xavier team this year. They lost a lot of production from last year's really good team. They had some injuries before the season even started, and I figured it was going to be an uphill battle for the Musketeers this year. They're right around 500 overall, 4-5 in conference play, but I got to say, even though we faded Xavier quite a few times this season, I actually like him in this spot. This is actually a really good spot against the spread and situational-wise, because I think we're going to see a lot of overreacting being done by the betting markets to recent performances. St. John's coming off the 20-point win over Villanova, and Xavier coming off a giant blowout loss to UConn, 99-56. However, Xavier's home in this game. They've been a much better team at home this year. Their last 2 home games in the conference were wins over Butler and Georgetown, and before that, they beat Seton Hall at home, and they beat Cincinnati at home as well. They were competitive against Houston. They covered the number as a small home underdog in that game, or a sizable home underdog, I should say. And I think Xavier fundamentally matches up pretty well with St. John's. I don't trust the St. John's defense. Shot quality-wise, not the strongest. They're not a very good defensive rebounding team, so Xavier should get some second-chance looks. They're a pretty good offensive rebounding team. I just think we're going to see a really competitive game, and I think Xavier bounces back from that horrible loss, that ugly blowout loss. Give me Xavier in this one. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, we see Baylor and UCF. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. Man, Baylor has gone through some really tough losses as of late, just gut-wrenching losses and a 3-game losing streak. The first one was on the road against Kansas State, and while it's probably the weakest loss, the worst loss you could take of the 3, it was probably the easiest loss to take because it was just an overtime game, 68-64. The next loss against Texas was a buzzer-beater loss against the Longhorns, a big rivalry there in the Big 12, and it was a 2-point game, 75-73. Then you go against TCU at home, a game that you're expected to win, and you go to triple overtime and lose 105-102. Just, gut-wrenching losses for the Baylor Bears. But while most teams, it's difficult to bounce back from those types of losses, I think this is, an experienced roster, obviously, with the Baylor Bears, and obviously one of the best head coaches in college basketball, and Scott Drew. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to bounce back, and I think this is a get-right spot for Baylor. This is a very elite offense versus an elite defense in this matchup. UCF, top 10 in adjusted defensive efficiency, but the offense outside the top 200. That concerns me in a game like this because Baylor has been able to score points against basically any opponent it's faced this year. And, they're a great offensive rebounding team. They get to the free throw line, an elite 3-point shooting team. If Baylor's offense has its way early on, I just don't think UCF's going to be able to keep up. And while UCF's defense, like we said, is elite, I do worry about the fact that they take quite a few fouls. Like I said, Baylor gets to the free throw line at a pretty good rate. So Baylor's going to have multiple options of scoring in this ball game. I don't think UCF will. And I think Baylor's defense is honestly underrated right now. So I'm going to go with Baylor in this one on the road. I think they put that losing streak behind them. Next up, we see Cincinnati and West Virginia. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. I like the Cincinnati team, especially defensively, but I don't know if the offense is strong enough for me to want to lay points with this team on the road. A team with only two true road wins on the season, and one of those true road wins, they needed overtime to beat Howard in non-conference play by 5 points. So Cincinnati's not been a great road team. They're 309th in the country in free throw percentage, which is concerning because if this is a close game late and Cincinnati's looking for the cover, if they have a lead late in the game, I can't really trust them to make those free throws at a 67.6% team rate. While West Virginia, they're a solid free throw shooting team. They're also just, I think, improving their shooting percentage in general. And a team that's been competitive at home in conference play. Their 2 wins in conference play were both at home against Texas and Kansas. 2 really solid teams and 2 really impressive wins. So while I don't trust the Mountaineers on the road, I think at home with a decent home court advantage, they're worth a look. I think West Virginia has some issues, fundamentally, especially on the glass. I think Cincinnati, that's where they have their biggest advantage in this game. But I don't know if Cincinnati's offense does enough in this game to win and cover the number. I just think it's a tall task. So give me West Virginia here. I'm going to take the points. Next up, we see Rice and Memphis. This one's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. I'm going back to the well-fading Memphis in this spot. This team has been overrated and overvalued in conference play from the start, basically. I mean, this team has really struggled against the number in conference play, and now they're on a 3-game losing streak straight up. They lost to South Florida, Tulane, and UAB. The last game on the road by 9 points against UAB, giving up 97 in that one. And while before this losing streak, they beat Wichita State in blowout fashion, before that game, they needed overtime to beat the weakest team in the conference, and UTSA at home, they needed overtime 107-101. This defense cannot be trusted, in my opinion. Before that game, they did not cover against SMU as a 6.5, 7-point favorite, only won the game by 3. They only beat Tulsa by 3 on the road, so Memphis has just really struggled. They only beat Austin Peay by 11. I can't trust Memphis in this game to lay a giant number. Rice, while they're not a great team, I do think they're underrated. I think shot quality-wise, this is a decent team. They can compete on the glass. They don't take too many fouls defensively. The defense is the worry you have with Rice, but I think Memphis' defense is struggling just as much recently, giving up 97 to UAB, 81 to Tulane. Give me the points here with Rice. I would lean towards the over as well. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.